Hey guys, it's Roscoe, and on the Space Couch today I'm going to be reviewing this. The expanded edition of The Last Jedi novelisation. There you go. It's really, really good. And it's really, really good because of all the extra stuff that's in there, because it does follow essentially the overall plot of the film, but the extras do make it very enjoyable and should certainly add to the experience of rewatching The Last Jedi when it comes out on Blu-ray. So we spoke in a previous video about the beginning, Luke Skywalker's dream of that alternate life where he's married on Tatooine, the Empire's still in charge, the Death Star's destroyed Chandrila and Mon Cala and Yavin 4 and who knows however many others. And then there's the memorial service for Han Solo on Dakar that we spoke about, and also there was more Rose and Paige as well. So yes, some of the extra bits were fascinating. For instance, the tree on Ahch-To, the Unity tree, I think it's pronounced. In the Shara Shattered Empire comic, you know how Luke Skywalker gives her one of the saplings? It is a Unity tree. That has been confirmed now. I assumed it was, but they'd never really said what it was, just that it was a Force-sensitive tree. And that Poe, he grew up playing in the branches of it, like you read in the fan fictions. But what was also very interesting is that when he was learning to fly, a good part of that came from him flying through the debris ring of the Death Star wreckage, still orbiting Yavin 4, going through all of the chunks of Star Destroyers that would have been docked there or whatever, and all of the wreckage. So that was fascinating. He flew all around that. And it also mentions about when Luke Skywalker turns up, how Poe knows him, of course, not that well, but obviously his mother flew with him on that mission. That was really good to see, and that's when it mentions about the Unity tree. It does tie in lots of other bits of the canon as well. For instance, Leia, when they're on Crait, talks about basically the Storms of Crait comic and how she flew one of the ski speeders. They were thinking of setting up the rebel base because she'd stumbled across it, saw her father there and all of that, but then there was trouble, which basically means Scar Squadron, of course, when they turned up. So that was good to see. It was also when they're on the Supremacy, Finn and Rose and DJ, about the execution of stormtroopers, how they're randomly assigned that duty. Finn has been randomly assigned that duty many times as well, it says, although he was never actually called upon to perform those duties. So I had just always thought that basically they get called to that duty to execute someone, but no, they're just basically on standby waiting to execute someone, and he'd always hoped he would never be called upon to do that, and of course he wasn't. So that was very interesting. There's also other things that's in there, like say for instance Leia at the end when she's in the cockpit next to Chewie, she's thinking back to how many times she has been in that position ever since the escape from the original Death Star when they're being pursued by the TIE fighters. And it also mentions the very long journey between Hoth and Bespin, she was sat there, and other stuff like that. Now, it does also give a very good explanation for how Leia manages to bring herself back from space onto the ship. Prior to that event happening, she's basically opens herself to the Force because Luke Skywalker had taught her how to do it, and mentions some of the teachings that he gave her. But like her consciousness essentially expands. You know, she can sense everyone on the ship. She can sense Finn. She can sense Poe, all that sort of thing. And later on, she can sense her son when he's coming to attack. But she was quite strong in the Force, and that scene with her coming back through space does make much more sense after having read that section. So that was very good. It gave that a lot more credibility, and certainly when I see it the next time, because you know it's a scene I had some issues with, hopefully it will work much better. But yes, excellent book, thoroughly enjoyed. Also at the end there's an extra scene. Or the deleted scenes that are in the movie are in there, you know, like when Rey is charging down to the village and it turns out it's a party, not an attack. That's in there. I assume all the others are as well. But scene at the end, in between basically the Falcon going off into hyperspace, and we have all we need to start a new rebellion. And the young boy back on Canto Bight with the Fathiers, with his ring and his broomstick lightsaber. It goes to Ahch-To and the caretakers, and it mentions one of them specifically, and it is the one that has a name that's in the Last Jedi visual dictionary. I think it's Auric something or other, I can't remember. But basically, she finds his cloak where it flutters down. And she wasn't sure if maybe he had like jumped off the ledge into the ocean or had vanished into the light and the dark, as they call it, because both things had been known to happen on the island. But she takes the cloak, she takes his weapon, the lightsaber, she takes the star compass and various other things, and basically puts it with all the other stuff of the various other Jedi who've lived there over the millennia. And some of the stuff that Luke Skywalker had acquired during his travels to find out more about the Force had come from Ahch-To in the first place. So they had ended up back where they belonged. So yes, thoroughly enjoyable seeing things like that. I do recommend it to you, and I'm certainly very much looking forward now to seeing the film again on the basis of all that extra information. I'm sure there was loads more. Yes, something else. Snoke, prior to his end and that whole scene, it kind of focuses on him and just his motivations. It's all very nebulous and vague. There's no specifics. But it does mention some of the people from the canon, like others who had wanted to lead what essentially became the First Order, starting with Gallius Rax. And then it mentions Ray Sloan, of course. And there was another name that I didn't recognise, but it might be somewhere from like the depths of the old EU. Maybe it's a shout out to someone, I'm not sure. And also Brendel Hux. But how he basically co-opted, sidelined or destroyed everyone who tried that. So yes, Ray Sloan, her fate is still up in the air. I do hope she's alive and that we hear more about her soon, because she's excellent. But yes, there's also more of Hux's motivations, because he wants to be Supreme Leader Hux. I don't see that happening. He would be Supreme Leader Hux in the same way that Admiral Dönitz was Führer of Germany right at the end of the war. You know, it wouldn't for very long. It would be the last gasp of that regime if he was in charge. But yes, it was great. Absolutely enjoyed it. Still not that keen on the cover, but I mean, it's not like it's terrible or anything. It's just it's a bit too red. I have been into this. I'm not getting into it again. But yes, the book is great, and there's pictures in it. Stills from the movie with a little bit of text. So there you see Luke and Rey on Ahch-To. And here we see the Star Fortresses, Poe running along the corridor. There's BB-8 in the X-Wing. There's Leia on the bridge, and there's Admiral Holdo with one of her aides. Finn and Rose on Canto. There's the Gramus sisters, Parallella and Rombo, whatever they were called. There's DJ, Rey. Obviously, we recognise all of these shots from the trailer, of course. Kylo, Finn and Phasma, Praetorian Guards, the Walkers, Finn flying his ski speeder, and there are all the ski speeders heading out to meet the Walkers. Why did they meet them head on? Why don't they flank them from the sides and get round the back of them maybe? I don't know. It's just a thought. And there is Rey lifting the rocks on Crait so the Resistance can escape onto the Falcon. But yes, great book. Thoroughly enjoyed. The extra information does very much make it worthwhile. I'd say it's not quite as good as the Rogue One novelisation, which had all those extra chapters like data files and emails and Mon Mothma's records and all that sort of stuff. But it's pretty close. It's definitely pretty close. So, like I say, I do recommend it to you guys. The expanded edition of The Last Jedi. And like I say, Blu-ray is out soon, and I'm sure it will make it even more enjoyable after having read that. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content. Leave me a comment suggestion for a upcoming topic you'd like to see discussed, or like the video.